אלון, אני רוצה שתישאר לשמוע גם את הרעיון המעניין בעיניי הבא. אילן גולדנברג היה בכיר בממשל האמריקני לאורך מספר ממשלים, והדבר המרכזי והמעניין שהוא עשה, זה שהוא היה שותף למשחקי מלחמה שנערכו בממשל האמריקני, על איך תיראה מלחמת איראן-ארצות הברית. אז הוא יכול לספר לנו איך זה נראה בפועל, לעומת מה שהם תכננו. אילן גולדנברג, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
President Trump says that no one thought that Iran would attack neighboring countries. Could it really be that no one considered this scenario?
No, this is entirely predictable. I worked on war games for years, the Pentagon and elsewhere, and what we saw time and time again was once you bring the U.S. in, once the U.S. starts seriously attacking Iran, Iran feels like it's in a corner and it has no choice, and it strikes back.
Another development that reportedly surprised the president was that Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. Was this a scenario considered in these war games?
Of course, always. It's the single most significant high consequence scenario. Now, what they've done is actually much more effective. They've used drones and missiles and other things to essentially create enough risk around the Strait of Hormuz so that nobody else can put oil through the Strait of Hormuz because companies are deterred and too afraid to do it. But Iran is still pushing more than 1 million barrels a day through the Strait of Hormuz, even as oil prices are going up. And now the U.S. is talking about, has relaxed some sanctions on Iran so they can sell this oil. So it's actually been much worse, certainly than I expected and others expected in terms of this particular part of the scenario. And more broadly, this is a problem when you have a president who doesn't listen to experts and who's fired so many experts, that you end up with situations like this where things that are just so obvious to so many senior high-level security officials who've been looking at this problem for years aren't obvious to the president of the United States and should have been told to him in advance.
Do you see a possibility for a deal right now?
Look, I think chances of a deal are pretty small unless Trump decides he wants to end the war. Now, if Trump were, for example, to say, we've achieved our objective, we've dramatically knocked back Iran's military capability, we're ending the war, will Trump do that? I think he might, because this war is very unpopular in the United States.
And in that case, would we be facing an Iran that is stronger or weaker than it was on the 28th of February?
So I would say weaker, but more dangerous. And this is the problem, more aggressive. And this, again, we did these war games for years and looked at these different scenarios. And what we always found is that by far the most likely outcome of these wars was very similar to Saddam Hussein after the first Gulf War, which is basically he was dramatically set back, but he was very aggressive in the aftermath. And the U.S. had to stay very involved in the region. And it's not good for Israel because you're in a world where you could have these flare-ups every 6 months, every year, where, again, Israelis are in bomb shelters for days or weeks on end. You can't live like this year after year after year.
Ilan Goldenberg, thank you.
Thank you.